Most people don't realize this, but the first 10 minutes after you wake up determine more about your wealth than any strategy, mentor, or financial plan you've ever studied. Not because of magic, but because of alignment. A billionaire rabbi once told me that a person either opens the gates of prosperity at dawn or closes them before their feet even touch the floor. That truth struck me with the force of a confession. He said, if you start your day in poverty of thought, you will walk in poverty of opportunity. And I've watched countless lives confirm it. You see, wealth doesn't enter a mind that's half asleep spiritually. It doesn't grow in people who wake up reacting instead of creating. Most people open their eyes and immediately surrender to noise, messages, memories, problems waiting from yesterday. They let the world enter them before they've even entered themselves. And that tiny detail is enough to sabotage entire years of potential. It's not because these people lack talent, it's because they lack direction in the moment direction matters the most. This video is for you if you've ever felt stuck financially, even when you work hard. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to magnetize opportunity while you feel like you're chasing fragments. There is a ritual, simple, ancient, almost hidden, that wealthy sages whispered to their families before sunrise. A ritual the billionaire rabbi practiced for decades, and he said, teach this only to those ready to build their wealth from the inside out. If you are here, I trust you are ready. But before I explain the ritual, I want you to participate in something subtle but powerful. In the comments, write a short phrase that expresses what you want to change about your financial life. It doesn't have to be poetic. It doesn't have to impress anyone. It simply has to be honest. Because the very act of writing transforms desire into direction. When you name your intention publicly, even in a few words, your mind begins to orient itself toward fulfillment. Commitment begins with clarity, and clarity begins with expression. So write it. Let your words open space for what has been waiting to grow. As you think about your phrase, notice the slight hesitation inside you. That hesitation is evidence of how deeply your financial patterns are tied to your identity. And that is exactly why this morning ritual is so powerful. It reshapes identity before the world has a chance to reinforce old patterns. It teaches you to claim wealth internally so that it can begin forming externally. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine waking up tomorrow with a mind that feels prepared, sharp, open, aligned. Imagine stepping into your day with intention instead of tension. Imagine feeling wealth before earning it. That is what the rabbi meant when he said, prosperity begins before breakfast. And to understand why this ritual works, why it has transformed fortunes, careers, and families, you must first understand the spiritual foundation behind it, a foundation older than any modern financial philosophy. There is a principle in Jewish wisdom that unsettles everything you think you know about wealth. Prosperity is not measured by what you possess, but by what you are prepared to receive. This idea sounds gentle on the surface, but when you let it sink deeper, it exposes the truth behind decades of financial struggle. Wealth, according to the sages, is not an accumulation of coins, but an alignment of consciousness. It is spiritual posture before it is material proof. The billionaire rabbi who guided me through this teaching used to say, money moves toward responsibility, not desperation. In his community, wealth was never seen as luck or privilege. It was seen as a form of divine assignment. If your heart, mind, and actions were prepared to hold more, more would come. If not, even what you had would slowly slip through your fingers. That idea reframed everything for me. It showed that mornings are not simply the beginning of a day, they are the calibration of a destiny. We live in a world obsessed with hustle, speed, and constant productivity. People wake up, scramble into action, and assume that movement equals progress. But Jewish tradition teaches the opposite. Intention precedes movement. A single moment of alignment can outperform an entire day of frantic effort. This is why the rabbi's ritual is practiced at dawn, because the mind is closest to its purest state right after waking, untouched by noise, unmarked by obligation, still soft enough to be shaped. He once told me a story about his early years. Before he became wealthy, he used to wake up overwhelmed, already behind, already drained. Opportunities would pass him by, not because he was unqualified, but because his mind was still tangled in the debris of yesterday. A cluttered morning becomes a cluttered life, he said, and a cluttered life has no room for blessing. It was only when he began practicing this morning alignment that everything changed. His decisions sharpened, his awareness heightened, and he finally recognized the opportunities that had always been around him. This contrast matters. Most people interpret wealth as output, what you earn, what you save, what you build. But ancient wisdom insists that wealth begins with input, what you allow into your mind, what you choose to think first, what you train your spirit to expect. And it is here, in this unseen space, that the morning ritual becomes transformative. Because while you may believe you're starting each day with an open mind, there is a silent mistake almost everyone makes, one so subtle that it slips through your awareness unnoticed. It's a pattern that blocks clarity, weakens intention, and quietly closes the gates through which wealth is supposed to flow. And until you recognize this mistake, until you see the trap hiding inside the very first moments of your morning, you cannot fully understand why the ritual of the billionaire rabbi holds such extraordinary power. The first mistake, the one that quietly cripples a person's financial destiny, is waking up empty. Not physically empty, but mentally undefined. Most people open their eyes and step instantly into reaction, checking messages, remembering unfinished tasks, replaying yesterday's stress. They allow the world to enter them before they have entered themselves. In that fragile moment, when the mind is still unguarded, they surrender direction without even noticing it. And this surrender becomes the blueprint for the entire day. The billionaire rabbi called this the poverty of the first thought. He would tell me, when you wake up without intention, your mind becomes a house with the door left open. Anything wandering through the world can walk inside. And he was right. A mind without direction attracts distraction. A day without clarity generates confusion. And confusion is the enemy of prosperity because wealth requires recognition. You must be able to see opportunities as they approach or they pass by unnoticed. I once knew a man named Eli who was hardworking, intelligent, and endlessly creative. But every morning he woke in a fog of thoughts he never chose. Before his feet touched the floor, he was already overwhelmed by problems, imagining worst-case scenarios, scrolling through messages that stirred anxiety instead of purpose. He believed this was normal. He believed this was simply how life is. But in truth, he was beginning each day by handing his mind over to random influences. He wasn't choosing his focus, he was inheriting it. And within 3 short days of repeating this pattern, the consequences always became visible. He would forget important tasks. He would miss opportunities because he couldn't sense their value through the noise. He would misunderstand instructions, arrive late to meetings, or make hasty decisions that cost him money. It wasn't bad luck, it was misalignment created in the first 10 minutes of each morning. The rabbi used to say, chaos at dawn becomes loss by evening, and Eli lived that reality again and again. Jewish wisdom teaches that the mind, right after waking, is like clay before it hardens. Soft, impressionable, forming the shape that will hold the entire day's energy. If the first impression is confusion, the rest of the day follows its shape. If the first impression is scarcity, the mind begins scanning for lack. If the first impression is stress, the brain prioritizes survival instead of opportunity. This is why waking up empty, without a chosen direction, is not a small mistake. It is the silent architect of future limitations. But once you see this pattern, once you understand how much power lives in those first moments, something inside you begins to shift. You realize that wealth is not built only in meetings, deals, or hours of work. It is built in the first whisper of consciousness each morning. And that realization prepares you for a deeper truth. Because the danger is not only in waking up empty. There is another error, subtler and equally damaging, that shapes the emotional tone of your day before you even notice it. There is a teaching in the Talmud that says the first words you speak in the morning shape the gates through which your day will pass. Ancient, poetic, and astonishingly precise. Jewish sages believed the morning mind was not just open, it was sacred. A thin space between the spiritual world and the material one. A moment when the soul returns to the body with a softness that allows profound reprogramming. And if those first moments are wasted, neglected, or filled with noise, you lose access to the deepest well of clarity available to you. To understand this, imagine your mind upon waking as wet clay. It holds any shape you press onto it. If you shape it with anxiety, your entire day dries into tension. If you shape it with confusion, the day hardens into overwhelm. But if you shape it with intention, clear, articulated, aligned intention, you create a structure capable of holding wealth, opportunity, and direction. The billionaire Rabbi used to say, prosperity is not born in the marketplace, it is born in the morning mind. Modern psychology unknowingly mirrors this ancient truth. Neuroscientists explain that within the first minutes of waking, the brain shifts from theta waves, dreamlike, intuitive, receptive, into alpha waves where patterns become imprinted. These are the minutes when affirmations become beliefs, when intentions become neural pathways, when clarity becomes momentum. But most people never take advantage of this window. They waste it on distractions, notifications, or lingering emotional residue from yesterday. Modern psychology unknowingly mirrors this ancient truth. The bigger danger, however, is not distraction. It is unintentional inheritance. You wake up and without choosing your first thought, you inherit the last thought of yesterday. If yesterday ended in frustration, you begin the day inside that same emotional frequency. If yesterday ended in doubt, you start the day wearing doubt like clothing you never meant to put on. This inheritance becomes the silent foundation of your morning, and then of your choices, and then of your financial behavior. This is why Jewish wisdom insists that your first spoken words must be chosen, never accidental. A chosen word is a direction. A chosen word is a declaration to your consciousness and to the universe itself. The Rabbi taught that when you speak with intention at dawn, you are not only shaping your mind, you are signaling that you are ready to receive. And readiness is a magnet for abundance. So ask yourself quietly, how do you begin your mornings? With clarity or confusion? With intention or inheritance? With silence or with the noise of the outside world rushing in before you are even awake enough to protect your inner space? As you consider this, something else begins to surface, a deeper realization, an uncomfortable truth. Because while the absence of intention blocks wealth, there is another pattern that does just as much harm. A pattern rooted not in confusion, but in comfort. A pattern that convinces you you're doing well enough, even when your spirit knows you're not expanding. And this next mistake is so common that most people fall into it without ever noticing. The second mistake is far more seductive than the first, because it doesn't feel like a mistake at all. It feels like relief. It feels like progress. It feels like those brief moments when something finally goes right and you think, maybe things are improving. And in that quiet exhale, without meaning to, you fall into the trap the billionaire Rabbi warned me about, the trap of false fulfillment. He used to say, a man who believes he has already climbed the mountain stops climbing, and that is when he begins to slide. This isn't about greed or ambition, it's about spiritual posture. Wealth requires growth, and growth requires movement. But the moment you believe a small win means the journey is complete, you begin to drift. That drifting is invisible at first. It feels like rest, like a reward, like you finally get to pause after carrying so much weight. But spiritually, it is stagnation disguised as comfort. There's an old expression he loved repeating. A crocodile that sleeps becomes a handbag. It made me laugh every time, but the truth underneath it cut deep. When you lower your guard too soon, you don't just stop progressing, you become vulnerable. You allow the momentum you've built to fade. Your awareness dulls. Your sensitivity to opportunity weakens. You no longer see the small openings that could multiply your success. Psychologically, the explanation is simple. When your mind perceives small success, it sends a message to your subconscious. We have enough. And the subconscious stops scanning for growth. It stops searching for possibility. It stops engaging with life as a creator. Instead, it shifts into preservation mode. It tries to maintain instead of expand. But maintenance is the enemy of wealth. Wealth flourishes in forward motion, not in neutral. I once watched a friend experience this very pattern. After months of financial struggle, he finally landed a good contract. For the first time in a long time, he felt relief wash over him. But instead of using that momentum to keep building, he relaxed completely. He stopped studying, stopped reaching out, stopped preparing himself mentally each morning. He didn't notice it, but the discipline that had brought him the opportunity evaporated. And within a few weeks, the flow dried up. Not because he wasn't capable, but because he had quietly told his inner world, "We've arrived." And the universe responded accordingly. Jewish wisdom teaches that true wealth is not measured by what enters your life, but by how you continue once it arrives. A small blessing is not an ending, it is an invitation. It is the universe asking, will you rise to meet the next level? And the answer must always be movement, awareness, humility, and intention. Because beneath this trap of false fulfillment lies an even deeper misunderstanding, one that affects not only your actions, but your interpretation of the challenges life places before you. A misunderstanding so subtle that most people never question it, even as it quietly steals their prosperity from the inside out. The third mistake is the most subtle, the most deceptive, and the most spiritually dangerous. It is the belief that challenges are signs of misfortune rather than signals of expansion. Most people assume that when life becomes difficult, they are moving away from wealth. But Jewish wisdom teaches the opposite. Difficulty is not the absence of blessing. It is often the first sign that blessing is approaching. The billionaire Rabbi told me once, when God wants to give you something bigger, he stretches the container first. And that stretch rarely feels pleasant. It feels like pressure, inconvenience, disruption. Opportunities disguised as obligation. Growth disguised as discomfort. Change disguised as loss. And because people misread these signals, they reject the very experiences designed to prepare them for prosperity. He explained it with a simple metaphor. If a cup could feel, it would think it was breaking, when in truth, it was being expanded. That sentence stayed with me. How many times have you felt life pressing you, stirring you, shaking you, and assumed you were being punished or abandoned? How many times did you retreat when you were actually being pushed upward? There is scientific grounding for this wisdom too. A study conducted in Israel examined the relationship between mental framing and financial outcomes. Participants who interpreted setbacks as proof of failure experienced, on average, a 12% decline in income over the following season. But those who interpreted challenges as preparation, signals that they were entering a phase of growth, showed increased resilience, creativity, and ultimately higher earnings. Their external circumstances didn't change at first. Their interpretation did. And from that interpretation, new behavior emerged. This is why the third mistake is so dangerous. It makes people walk away from the very path meant for their prosperity. They think a closed door means they are unworthy. They think a detour means the blessing is gone. They think a delay means the universe has forgotten them. But Jewish wisdom insists, the tightening before dawn is not darkness. It is a sign the light is near. Think back to your own life. How many times did something that felt like a setback lead to something greater? How many moments of pressure forced you to make decisions that ultimately strengthened you? When you look closely, you will see the pattern. Struggle is not an interruption to your wealth journey. It is a preparation stage for it. The billionaire rabbi called this the hidden mercy of challenge. He believed that challenges do not block wealth. They expand your capacity to carry it. They sharpen your discipline, deepen your awareness, stretch your resilience, and refine your gratitude. Without that refinement, wealth becomes a burden instead of a blessing. And once you understand this, once you learn to read the signals correctly, you stop resisting the stretch and begin embracing it. You stop shrinking and begin expanding. You stop fearing discomfort and start recognizing it as the doorway to your next level. And it is precisely at this doorway that the morning ritual of the billionaire rabbi becomes not just powerful, but essential. Now that you understand how the morning shapes your destiny and how silently these 3 mistakes steal your prosperity, it is time for the revelation. The morning ritual the billionaire rabbi practiced every single day without fail. He told me, if you do this before the world touches you, the world will never shake you. And then he taught me a sequence so simple, so refined by generations of wisdom, that it feels less like a practice and more like a tuning of the soul. The ritual has 4 movements: gratitude, mental direction, financial intention, and a small immediate action. But these are not just steps, they are alignments. Each one activates a different gate through which wealth travels. The first movement is gratitude. Upon waking, before touching your phone, before letting a single thought from yesterday enter your mind, you speak a simple phrase: "Thank you for returning my soul." This ancient line from Jewish tradition does something profound. It grounds you in abundance before you have done anything to earn it. Gratitude shifts your frequency instantly, pulling your mind out of scarcity and into readiness. It tells the universe you recognize the privilege of another day. The second movement is mental direction. The rabbi taught me to place one hand on the chest and declare, "Today, my mind serves my purpose." This sounds small, almost poetic, but its power is surgical. It cancels the drift that destroys so many mornings. It tells your consciousness that you, not your fears, not your memories, not your notifications, will guide the day. This single line creates mental sovereignty. The third movement is financial intention. He instructed, speak what you are building, not what you fear, not what you lack, not what others expect. Speak what you are constructing in your financial life. A sentence like, "Today I move closer to financial expansion," or "Today opportunities recognize me and I recognize them." The key here is recognition. Wealth often hides in plain sight, but only eyes trained by intention can perceive it. Intention is the lens that reveals openings most people overlook. The fourth movement is a small action. This is the part most people underestimate. Within the first minutes of waking, take one tiny step toward your goal. Send a message, schedule a task, write a note, read a line of something that elevates you. The action does not have to be dramatic. It only has to exist, because action locks the ritual into reality. It anchors the energy you've generated so it doesn't evaporate once the day becomes noisy. When practiced together, these 4 movements create a spiritual architecture strong enough to hold wealth. They align your heart, your mind, your intentions, and your behavior. And the rabbi insisted, consistency is the covenant. Break it and the gates close. Honor it and the gates widen. But the true proof of this ritual isn't found in theory. It's found in the lives of those who practiced it faithfully, those whose stories reveal what happens when alignment becomes a daily habit. There was a woman named Miriam whose story the billionaire rabbi shared with me many years ago. At the time, she was drowning in quiet financial despair. Not the dramatic kind others can see, but the subtle kind that slowly drains a person's hope. Bills were always slightly higher than her income. Opportunities seemed to dissolve the moment she reached for them. Her confidence, once strong, had shrunk into hesitation. And though she worked hard, her mornings began in the same fog of heaviness, silence, and resignation. When she first learned the ritual, she didn't believe anything so simple could shift a life so tangled. She had spent years searching for the big solution, the dramatic breakthrough, the miracle answer. But the rabbi looked at her with a softness that felt like certainty and said, "Small rituals move the greatest doors." With nothing left to lose, she began. On the first morning, she whispered the words of gratitude with a trembling voice. It felt unnatural, almost like she was borrowing someone else's hope. On the second morning, she added the line of mental direction. Something inside her that had been asleep for years stirred a little. By the fourth morning, she felt a warmth she couldn't explain, as if her mind was slowly waking up before her body did. And by the end of the first week, she noticed something she had forgotten how to feel: clarity. Before using the ritual, her life looked like a long corridor of closed doors. But as she repeated the sequence every day, gratitude, direction, intention, action, tiny shifts began appearing. Not miracles, not sudden wealth, just small openings, like cracks of light around a door that had always seemed locked. A friend mentioned a short-term project that needed quick assistance. She said yes. A former coworker reached out unexpectedly, asking if she was open to consulting. She said yes. A business owner in her neighborhood remembered her skills and offered her a part-time opportunity. She said yes again. And each yes, strengthened by the morning ritual, amplified her confidence. Within 3 months, her income stabilized. Within 6 months, she had enough work to support herself without fear. Within a year, she had launched a small business of her own, something she had dreamed of for years but never felt capable of beginning. When people asked what changed, she always answered the same way: "My mornings changed, and then everything else followed." She didn't credit luck, nor connections, nor timing. She credited alignment, the quiet, humble alignment she built one dawn at a time. But what moved me most was what she said after sharing her journey. "Wealth didn't arrive when my circumstances improved. Wealth arrived when I remembered who I was each morning." And her story is not an exception. It is a pattern repeated across generations. Because Jewish wisdom doesn't just produce results, it reshapes identity until a person becomes capable of receiving more. And once you understand this truth, the deeper philosophy behind the ritual becomes impossible to ignore. When you place all these pieces together, the clarity of intention, the discipline of the ritual, the reframing of challenge, the refusal to fall into false fulfillment, a deeper pattern emerges. It is the foundation of Jewish philosophy on wealth, a philosophy older than empires and more enduring than any financial strategy ever written. It begins with a single world-shaping idea: words create worlds. God said, and there was. This is not simply a spiritual verse. It is a blueprint for human prosperity. If creation responds to divine speech, then your life responds to your own. Every word you whisper into the silence of morning becomes the architecture of your day. Wealth is not built by money first. It is built by identity. And identity is shaped through daily expression. The billionaire rabbi emphasized this constantly. Speak as the person you are becoming, not the person you fear you are. Because wealth in Jewish thought is not an accident. It is a partnership between divine order and human responsibility. The ritual works because it aligns these two forces. Gratitude activates spiritual openness. Mental direction establishes sovereignty. Financial intention sharpens recognition. Immediate action anchors the unseen into the practical. Together, they create movement, and in Jewish wisdom, movement is life. Anything that grows moves. Anything that stagnates slowly begins to die. Wealth responds to motion. There is also responsibility woven into this teaching. The rabbi would often remind his students that abundance is not merely a blessing, it is a trust. The Creator gives wealth to those who will use it with wisdom, humility, and impact. In this view, money is not just for comfort, It is for contribution, for building, expanding, supporting, elevating. When you treat wealth as a sacred responsibility, you naturally rise into the behaviors that attract and sustain it. But responsibility without clarity becomes pressure. And that is why the ritual's daily alignment is so essential. It prevents wealth from becoming heavy. It keeps you connected to purpose. It keeps you awake to opportunity. It keeps you grounded in gratitude so that success doesn't harden into arrogance. It keeps you humble so that failure doesn't collapse into despair. At this stage, you may feel something shifting inside you, a recognition that the way you begin your morning shapes everything that follows. And that realization is itself a form of awakening. Because once you understand the mechanics behind wealth, you can no longer pretend that your mornings don't matter. So here is your challenge, simple yet profound. For 7 days, practice the ritual exactly as it was given. 7 days of gratitude before thought. 7 days of mental direction before distraction. 7 days of intention spoken aloud. 7 days of immediate purposeful action. It is not a test. It is an experiment in spiritual physics. Many who have taken this challenge describe the same experience. A subtle but undeniable shift. Greater clarity. Unexpected opportunities. A sense of order where there was once heaviness. This is not coincidence. This is alignment. And as you step into this commitment, you are ready to receive the final blessing and the final invitation. Before we close, I want you to feel the depth of everything you have uncovered. Not as concepts, not as lessons, but as a shift inside your spirit. You have walked through the hidden mistakes that quietly sabotage wealth, the ancient teachings that rewire the morning mind, the ritual that has elevated generations, and the stories of transformation that prove alignment is stronger than circumstance. Now it is time to gather all of this into a single truth. Wealth begins the moment you open your eyes. This is why the billionaire Rabbi insisted on guarding the first minutes of the day like sacred territory. He understood that what you allow to enter your mind at dawn becomes the architecture of your destiny. If you begin in gratitude, the world responds with abundance. If you begin in clarity, opportunities reveal themselves. If you begin in intention, your path sharpens. If you begin in action, the universe meets you halfway. So remember this, never again say you woke up the same. No one wakes up the same. The moment you open your eyes is a rebirth, a return, a spiritual reset. And you now have the knowledge to use that moment with purpose. Do not say, I hope things change. Say instead, I will shape the change. Do not say, I'm waiting for wealth. Say instead, I am preparing for wealth. Do not say, I don't know where to start. Say instead, I start each morning. Because this ritual, these 4 movements of gratitude, direction, intention, and action is no longer a secret to you. It is a tool, a form of spiritual engineering, a way of entering the world with the authority of someone who knows where they are going. And now, as is tradition, I want to offer you a blessing passed down through generations, spoken to those stepping into new chapters of growth. May the Lord bless you with clarity, strengthen your hands with purpose, illuminate your path with wisdom, and surround your work with favor. Let these words settle over your life, over your decisions, over the mornings you have yet to live. But blessings grow when shared. Wisdom multiplies when carried forward. So I want to invite you into a symbolic act of generosity. Share this message with 3 people who need a new beginning. 3 people waking each morning in heaviness. 3 people who have forgotten their own possibility. 3 people who need to remember that wealth is not a distant dream. It is a discipline, a ritual, a morning alignment away. This is how prosperity moves through the world. From dawn to dawn, from heart to heart, from intention to reality. You have everything you need now. You have the ritual, the understanding, and the responsibility. All that remains is to practice it. So tomorrow morning, before anything else touches your mind, whisper the words that open the gates. Thank you. I am aligned. I am building. I am ready.